Going back to the front of the tent, she walked in and saw Hyun's back facing towards her. Her teacher's shoulders were moving oddly, so she cautiously asked, "Teacher?" Hyun jumped in surprise and whipped around to look at Celestra standing at the entrance. Her teacher's face was red as she stammered, "Celestra, what brings you here?" "Teacher, I came to ask for your advice," Celestra asked, trying to ignore the awkward atmosphere within the tent. "What can I help you with?" Hyun managed to regain her usual demeanor. Feeling a little ashamed for having to ask this, she said, "I was wondering if there are ways to increase the power of my magical spells." Hyun gave a sigh, and thinking about it for a minute, she replied, "There is no easy way to increase an individual's magical power, I'm afraid." "Is this about what happened inside of the nest?" Looking at the ground, Celestra nodded. "Inside of the nest, I was close to being eaten, as I watched all of my classmates fight. When I was staring at the monster before it was about to eat me, I thought about all the things I regret not having done. Having those types of thoughts are not what I want to experience again. Eve was able to save me, and I want to be able to be there for him." She blushed at the last part, feeling embarrassed at her feelings. Her teacher stood there, mulling over what she had said. "If you're serious about becoming stronger, the best way is to increase your practical experience. This is the reason why our academy puts such an emphasis on all of our students going into the field. The problem is that, though our academy does value practical experience, the amount of increase you are likely hoping for is not possible inside the academy." Seeing Celestra's sad expression, she hurriedly said, "But if you're okay with it, becoming an adventurer would help build up your strength. Many adventurers quickly develop their talents, going on quests and taking on requests from various nations." Hearing this, Celestra felt ecstatic that there was a method for her to become stronger. Before going on this school trip, she had never considered the life of an adventurer as being something that was within her possibility. Whoever heard of a duke's daughter going out and subjugating monsters and demons? "What would I do about school and classes?" she asked her teacher. "You would likely take time off from classes, but you would not lose your acceptance into the school. Depending on the request you take up as an adventurer, you would receive credit towards graduation. It is a convenient method that was developed," Hyun explained to Celestra. Hearing her teacher's explanation, Celestra headed out of the tent. They discussed minor things, mainly tips on doing well as an adventurer. Watching the other students make their way out of the ruins, she followed after them. Considering that there were no monsters inside the forest and weren't doing any training, they headed towards the city together. Celestra walked into her home within the city and felt a sense of relief. With her status, she was allowed to move into one of the housing units and bring her servants with her. In front of the house, several guards were assigned by her father to look after her residence. They tried to come with her into the forest, but she was adamant about not needing them to protect her. With her strong magical powers, Celestra was confident that she would be able to defeat monsters that even a D-ranked adventurer could handle. When she remembered that moment, her legs gave out a little. "My lady, are you alright?" a guard asked her, rushing to her side. "I am alright, Charles, thank you. I guess I am a bit tired after arriving from the class trip," she lied, not wanting to tell other people about it. "Of course, please come inside and one of the cooks will prepare you a delicious meal," Charles escorted her inside, worried that she was going to collapse. Seeing how earnest her guards were about her safety made Celestia happy to be back home. At the same time, there were thoughts about how she was living inside of a bubble and surrounded by those who protected her from the reality of the world. Within her house, there were 10 guards, 5 maids, 3 cooks, and 2 landscapers. Though this may look like a lot, it was something she felt like was needed to reflect her status. Now, coming back home, it seemed like unnecessary fluff. Seeing what was out there had woken her up to the current situation. Though guards usually surrounded nobles, there may be a situation where there wouldn't be guards to protect her. She would need to be capable enough to defend herself. Monsters and demons were not the only things she needed to defend herself against. There were plenty of political enemies that would and have tried to harm her. When she was a child, Celestia was kidnapped to apply pressure to her father. Celestia remembered how she had cried, asking them to let her go, but they ignored her and provided only a little amount of food. Thinking that no one was going to come and save her, she fell into depression. Shortly after, her father's men had crashed into the abandoned building and rescued her. "My lady, thank the goddess that you were able to arrive safely," the head maid cried out, holding her tightly. "Meredith, there was nothing to be afraid of. I told you that the monsters were not that powerful," Celestia tried to reassure her head maid. Meredith continued to cry into her chest, holding her as if she would never let Celestia go. When she stopped crying, Meredith got back up and fixed her clothing. "The lady needs to eat something. She is looking a little fatigued from her travels," Charles told Meredith. Nodding her head in agreement, she went back to the kitchen to have the cook prepare a meal. Celestia took a seat at the table and relaxed on the comfortable chair. Being back in the city was preferable to her time in the woods. This would be something she would need to break if she was going to become an adventurer. Once the food was prepared, it was carried over to the table. There were various dishes like roasted pheasant, salad, and soup. Celestia dug into the food with gusto, savoring the different flavors. The taste was vastly better than the travel ration she ate. When she started to feel herself getting full, she looked up at Charles and Meredith. "I need to talk to you two about something," Celestia said in a serious tone. Seeing the determination in her eyes, the two of them just nodded their heads. "I have decided to put my schooling on hold and become an adventurer." She held up her hand when she saw them begin to protest. "This is not an easy decision that I have reached. Going on the school trip has taught me that I am not ready for what is out there in the world. There is no reason for the Mist to become an adventurer. Us guards are here to protect you and make sure that you are safe from harm." Charles tried to reason with her. "Charles is correct. The Mist needs not worry about the dangers of this world, and instead should continue training to earn a title or marry into another family," Meredith exclaimed, looking at Charles for him to stop her from making such a rash decision. "Things such as titles and honors does not mean anything, especially in the face of those with more power than you." Celestia slammed her fist on top of the table, trying to keep it from shaking. "For me to just rely on magic at its current strength is not a smart decision on my part. I understand that two of you are worried about me, but this is something that I need to pursue." "Miss," Charles reached out towards her, concern in his voice. Standing up, Celestia started to head towards her bedroom. "I am tired and weary after my journey. Tomorrow, I'll be going over to the Adventurers Guild and signing up to become an adventurer."
stuck inside my head. Oh, I can't stop thinking about all the words you said.